What's a scientific fact that truly blows your mind? Viagra was initially intended as a heart medicine, but when it was tested on healthy adults, the men had a delicate side effect. Now it's used for the side effect, and the effects as a heart medication is not usable. The first patient that got a pacemaker survived both of the surgeons that implanted it. https://n. Patient, some leukemia chemo meds have proven to be effective treatments for multiple sclerosis. This also applies to thalidomide. Both of these treatments have the problem of having pretty adverse effects on a fetus if the patient gets pregnant. That we are all stardust. It is one of the most tossed around and well known, but it still blows my mind. We are all dust from long dead stars that exploded and peppered the infinite space. The tiny amounts that make it to Earth become everything we are, and so each of us is made of countless bits of stardust from all over in every direction from who knows how long ago. It is likely that our right arm and left are each from completely different sides of the universe and share no dust from the same stars. Just bizarrely mind-blowing if you sit in a quiet place and think about it. Socialism is good, actually, and capitalists have always been lying about everything, and the entire West has been living in a propaganda bubble for generations. All the reasons for the failure of socialist countries boils down to foreign fascists like the Nazis, or Americans attacked them and destroyed their economies through war, sabotage, and blockades. One mind-blowing scientific fact is that the atoms in our bodies are made up of elements that were forged in the cores of stars through nuclear fusion billions of years ago. So, in a very real sense, we are all made of stardust. This concept, known as stellar nucleosynthesis, highlights the interconnectedness of the universe and our profound connection to the cosmos. Are descended from one chance encounter between two single-celled organisms, where one enveloped the other, and instead of it being digested, they joined together and were able to start cell division. Yes, it's a theory, but it's currently the best explanation. That the light we see from stars took millions of even billions of years to reach us might not even exist anymore. But the amount of time we have existed on this planet is so minuscule in comparison to the time it took that light to get to us that it seems like it's been there forever. Our hearts can detect subtle changes in other people's hearts from like 10 away. That and our brainwaves can affect random number generators. Basically that we can produce frequencies that change frequencies. Wild shit that points toward co-creative abilities and manifestation. Think sound and constructive interference. Scientists have created brain organoids, collection of human brain cells, placed them on microarrays, and taught them to play Pong. The organoids believed that they were the Pong paddles in this matrix, and were much better at Pong than an AI was. We have literally already created the matrix, except it's just Pong. Our heart is a really strong pump, like, really strong. Every beat, and it's pumping blood throughout the body, through every single artery and vein and whatnot. That's why, if an artery ruptures or something, and you're unable to tie a tourniquet, you'll bleed out in seconds. Amazing yet terrifying. I still haven't fully wrapped my brain around the fact that light is both a particle and a wave. I sort of understand that our normal understanding of physics starts to break down when approaching the speed of light. But when I think about it too much, it still starts to short-circuit my brain. The last known one was in 79 AD, which is where that kind of eruption happened, and where we get the name. It makes me wonder, will Mount Vesuvius have another Plinian eruption in 2079 of this millennium? Newborn babies have about 100 billion neurons at birth. To get to that point, they need to grow neurons at a rate of about 250,000 per minute. GovBooks NBK to 3 for 1 for 6 over the course of 9 months. Most of this growth occurs between 10 and 22 weeks gestation. The universe is not locally real. Now, locally real has a very specific scientific definition separate from the colloquial idea of something not being real. However, the actuality of it isn't much less bizarre than it sounds. The probability of being born, the sheer number of things that needed to happen exactly the way they did just for me to exist. I'm not religious, But if the fact that I or any of us exist as we are is not a miracle figuratively speaking, I don't know what is. What humans have accomplished technologically speaking, we're able to manufacture things on the nanometer scale so reliably that you can buy a little rock that does math faster than you can imagine for a few bucks on eBay. It's magic, and it's worth almost nothing. Giraffe have a spongy material at the base of their skull that slows the blood down as it approaches the brain. It prevents the blood that's traveling roughly the velocity of a shotgun blast from destroying their brains, and they bend their necks down to drink. Why? And kinda scary TBH. Like something small enough that it has virtually no mass can travel between two spaces regardless of distance nearly instantaneously, like how in TF do I just sleep on that, bro? Ike conditions, known as the triple point, which occurs when the temperature and pressure are just right for the three phases gas, liquid, and solid of water to coexist in thermodynamic equilibrium. Bananas are radioactive due to their potassium content. They contain potassium-40, a radioactive isotope of potassium. The radiation is extremely low, but it's fascinating that something so common and nutritious is naturally radioactive. Every atom in our bodies was once part of a star. The carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen atoms in our bodies, as well as elements in all living organisms, were created in previous generations of stars over 4.5 billion years ago. If you could fold a piece of paper 42 times, it would reach the moon. It seems impossible at first, given that folding a paper more than 8 times is challenging. But each fold doubles its thickness exponentially. If you could fold a piece of paper 42 times, it would reach the moon. It seems impossible at first, given that folding a paper more than 8 times is challenging. But each fold doubles its thickness exponentially. One of the theories as to why whales don't often die from cancer is because they have hypertumors. Their cancer grows cancer that kills the original cancer. Then a new cancer grows on that one and kills it. Venus spins clockwise on its axis, making it one of only 2 planets in our solar system that exhibit this retrograde rotation. This means on Venus, the sun would appear to rise in the west and set in the east. If an object moving at the speed of light started to move after the Big Bang, and kept going until now, it would still only be less than a fourth of the way to the current observable edge of the universe. Anaconda are carnivores. This is in contradiction to Sir Mix-a-Lot's claim that my anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun. Clearly Sir Mix-a-Lot has been feeding his anaconda the wrong diet. Space grows. With enough space, the growth exceeds the speed of light. Thus most of the universe remains completely dark and inaccessible to us forever. These areas are outside of our event horizon. We don't know how eels mate, give birth, etc. What we do know is that no eels have given birth in captivity, like ever. And they go to the freaking Bermuda Triangle, and then new eels show up. I've always been partial to the fact that there's no such thing as nothing. Even in a vacuum, there are matter of fields and charges and the basic underlying principles of time-space. That the double-slit experiment also works through slits in time, not just space. But interference through a time slit is in frequency, while interference from a space slit is in position. Did you know that humans did not evolve from apes at all? Instead, we evolved from a common ancestor we have with chimpanzees. I don't believe we know what this ancestor was. Light behaves differently, whether it is observed or not. See experiment. This whole thread somehow makes everything in life seem so small, insignificant. We should all just quit our jobs and do whatever drives our true passions, because WTF, humans left Africa between 60,000 and 90,000 years ago. That doesn't seem very long to me. And now we have different colors, shapes of faces and facial features. There's not enough anything to write out the amount of us out in a Googleplex. Not the notation, the actual number. Flatworms are all male until they are forcefully stabbed by another flatworm's penis and impregnated. They have penis fights to see who becomes the mummy. We have about 3 stars go supernova every 50 years in the Milky Way. If you apply this as an average for the universe, this equates to 1,000 per second. Light, or photons, do not experience time. From a photon's perspective, the journey from a star a billion light years away to your eye is instantaneous. When a woman is pregnant with a daughter, she is also carrying her grandkids. I think it's about 5 months or so. Biological Russian doll to an extent. Kilogram for kilogram. The human body produces 5,000 times as much heat as the sun. Human body about 1 watt kilogram. Soul about 200 microwatts kilograms. There are some women, never men, who have an extra receptor in their retinas that allows them to see colors the rest of us cannot even imagine. When you dream, one portion of your brain creates the story, while another part witnesses the events and is really shocked by the plot twists. I was blown away the first time I understood that all stars in the sky are actually suns that might have other planets revolving around them. We come from the Earth and return to the Earth. Life, for all its amazing idiosyncrasies, is ultimately just something neat dirt does. All of the planets in our solar system could fit between the Earth and our moon, but only when the moon is at its furthest point. We share about 50-60 of our DNA with bananas, highlighting how interconnected life on Earth is at a biological level. If the Milky Way was the size of the continental United States, the sun would be about the size of a red blood cell.